Andy, a stormy weekend. I guess coming into a stormy first week of the thing. Are you an April Fool's guy, Andy?
I'm not. I've never really been too big on it. It's more effort than I think it's worth. I've fallen for a few over the years. There have been a couple things that have gotten me. In my work life, sometimes a couple things have gotten me. My wife's been a big fan, sometimes traumatizing our children over the years. But no. How about you? Are you a big April Fool's guy?
Well, if you can't traumatize your kids, and I mean,
Yeah.
then are you really a parent
Yeah.
at some point? So, no, yeah, I don't know. Like, so I've never been a good joker, and so or jokester,
Yeah.
and so like it's always too hard for me. Like I'm not creative enough on that front, but yet I'm susceptible to some of them for sure.
To
So
being pranked. Well, maybe we'll wake up tomorrow and somebody will be like, haha, April Fools, this has all been a joke. The last 2 months of political activity. Just kidding.
no, Andy, the joke is that the a third term the president has actually uttered the words. So I
It's not
mean,
a joke, which is the fucking problem, Dave. It's not a joke. He's been prepping the environment for a while, right? With these ha ha, I'll run for a third term comments. Last week, like legitimately, sincerely said, like that is his intention. Like America should be outraged. Republicans should be outraged, and I want to see if there's even really coverage of this or not. But Donald Trump stated on NBC News that he fully intends to run for a third term. That should be major headlines.
so let's start with politics, and we'll just have one segment on that, Andy. So you mentioned it, he did say third term for sure. Here's a question though, Andy. He's still a spry 70 some odd, late 70. We saw how quickly Biden deteriorated once he got into his 80s, and we all knows what Jerry Jones is like in his 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's got to be quite conceivable that Donald Trump in 3.5 years is even more feeble-minded than he is today. I mean, don't you think? Age has got to win out here.
Dave, it's a serious thing. I mean, it's a serious thing, and it's a hard job that, you know, it does demand a lot of everyone. I mean, everyone that walks out of that office looks worse for it. Donald Trump, maybe not as much. I mean, honestly, from his first term, like he didn't look that worn and torn. Probably 'cause he's out golfing all the time and just saying ridiculous shit instead of actually governing, which is a lot easier. But it does demand a lot. And the idea of electing, he's already the oldest elected president. I think maybe Biden was older, but I'm pretty sure Donald Trump is the oldest elected president at this point. Like it doesn't make sense like to elect an 82-year-old man to the White House. It's just not good for the country, you know. Yeah, so it's on that sense alone, it's a bad decision.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see. I know there's all this talk about it. I know he's got all this great things going on, but man, oh man, I tell you, I just can't see the Donald Trump in 3 years to being. It's going to have to be. We'll have another Biden escapade, I think,
Yeah.
where he has a bad performance and everybody just pushes him out and puts in JD Vance, who couldn't look even worse than JD. Like these guys are just fucking ass clowns. JD's in front of talking about everybody in a tracksuit. I wish a reporter would have asked him, "Hey, do you not have a suit? Do you not own a fucking suit, you douchebag?" Something like that. But
Well, it fits in with his, Russian affinity to be wearing a tracksuit a la a Russian, mobster. So
yeah.
I guess that makes sense. But I mean, Dave, not like just to go back to the third term piece. I mean, like one, like it's actually a serious thing. Like he's not joking. Like he's saying like there's options to include the option we've said of Vance runs, resigns, Trump becomes president. Like they're legitimately looking at options on how to do this because a constitutional amendment will not happen, right? So
Yeah.
it's setting up for a constitutional crisis regardless because finding some backwards way to bypass the Constitution of the United States is very problematic, right? And what's just so dumbfounding to me is like Republicans and Americans should be up in arms when somebody is clearly stating they have an intention to violate the Constitution of the United States of America. right? To bypass the Constitution through some mischievous means that may not be explicitly illegal. Like Republicans stand up and say, no, we will not, no, we will not support this. Like we will not nominate this person, and we will not accept him as the vice presidential nominee. Like we're not going to support this activity. It should be clearly stated that this is not acceptable. I know it happened Thursday. It's been a full weekend, like always. This should be discussed, asked about. Republicans should be asked point blank, would you support this? Right? And they should have to give point blank answers because it's ridiculous. Like you're talking about clearly, deliberately violating the Constitution. Like we're already doing that. That's why there's courts every day rejecting the president's actions. And then the White House spokesgirl has a audacity to be like, well, the courts are rejecting him more than anybody else because he's violating the Constitution multiple times daily. But that being said, like he's now clearly openly saying, I intend to find a way around this silly, pesky Constitution. We're working on it. That should have Republicans up in arms. That is have Trump supporters who love this country more than they love a man up in arms and just rejecting it. Instead, we're chuckling about it. Like this is a serious issue. This should be major news this week.
Andy, like you yeah, in a normal world, should be like you're talking about a fucking bunch of cowards, Andy. I mean, all of these guys are slobbing at the knob. They're bending the knee. They're doing all the things at the pedestal
Yeah,
of King Trump because they're too big of pussies to fucking come out and say what they really think. And they all think they laugh at it because they hope it'll just go away. But the reality is, it's not going to go away. And the more you do that, the more power he's going to consolidate. And there's a lot of reporting about how he's trying to do that right now.
yeah,
And so, ideally, you're right, Andy. It should be that way, but it's not. And you like again, you mentioned the spokesgirl, and if it's meant to be derogatory, it is because she's a clown up there. I mean, she is up there purporting just things that are just unbelievable. It's high comedy to watch her every day, and the fact that she just believes what she's saying. I guess you have to if you're going to get up there in front, face all those questions, but it's challenging, and I just think that in those respects, I don't know. I mean, you had Elon Musk with a town hall this weekend, crying about the attacks against Tesla dealerships and the harassment Tesla owners face and the stock prices going down. I mean, cry me a fucking river, Elon. I mean,
yeah,
talking about the Republicans bitch about voter fraud and intimidation and people handing out drinks and poll lines. And Elon Musk is talking about giving away $1 million for
yeah,
those who vote for in the upcoming Supreme Court election in Wisconsin. What the fuck, people? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
again, uh, it's amazing. So.
It's just living in a world where you accept blatant hypocrisy and you accept just tons of bullshit. The whole Musk piece, like if you're concerned about Tesla, go run Tesla. Like go do the job you're being paid for by the company that's paying you a lot of money, right? Instead of sinking that company so you can just fuck up government for America. I mean, it's like there's no tears to be found here for fucking Elon Musk and Tesla. So it's a tough time, Dave. It's a tough time. But I know you've got something positive for us to talk about, Dave. I believe in you. I believe in you.
Yeah, yeah. So let's move off of this, Andy. Let's definitely move off of this. All right, Andy. Let's move to the NCAA tournament. We also had the kickoff of the Major League Baseball season in full effect. So how is your bracket looking, Andy, at this point in the season? So.
Dave, my strategy continues to pay. I took a conservative bet on the big boys approach. If you're a one seed, I expect you to win. So far, so good. And we're in the final four. I picked the final four. Things are looking promising. I'm going to say that in our shared bracket, I feel pretty confident, Dave, that I think it's lights out for everybody that's not named Andy.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the bracket now. I'm trying to see where I'm at. I was not doing great here, Andy, to be honest. But in my family one, I think I've locked it up. As long as Well, actually, I can't say I locked it up because if Florida doesn't win, then there's other things at play here. But I feel pretty good about where I'm at on that front. So, but it was a really good group of games, I think, for the most part. Well, actually, no, they actually sucked. We have four number one seeds, Andy, four number one seeds in the final four. I
Yeah,
I know we've had times where it has been three of four.
yeah,
Four of four is really tough. And there's only one good game where Texas Tech almost beat Florida there, and Florida had to rally and come back. And kudos to those guys. I mean, Texas Tech let a more than 10-point lead go in the last 4 minutes, so it's tough. But at the end of the day, it's Auburn versus Florida. We've seen that game twice already this year,
yeah,
and then we see Duke versus Houston. And I it's is this good for college sports where you have the number one seeds? Is this good for the NCAA tournament where you don't have any Cinderellas in there?
yeah,
And I think the other piece of it is you look at Florida. There's not one player on that team that is a that was a freshman that is playing on like well, I'm sure there are freshmen who are still on the team, but
yeah,
but
yeah,
most of them have been transfer portal people in. And Andy, when you really look at some of these players, there are players who after every year transfer. So they've been 4 years in college. They've transferred every year. The one of the top freshmen at the University of Kansas, a great basketball school, who played backup to an All-American, is in the transfer portal. I
yeah,
mean, like this is a star player who's going to be a star player for a prominent program, and he's going to go somewhere else next year. Why? Because probably told him, I can get you more money somewhere. This transfer portal, look, I'm all for people transferring. Coaches can leave after 1 year, places that it happens all the time.
yeah,
I'm all for it. But we have got to put some contractual things around these. I mean, coaches, when they leave, there's a buyout. I mean, if a player leaves after a year, or do they have to sign a 2 year contract? That's what some schools are starting to do. University of North Carolina, the football program,
yeah,
Bill Belichick's the coach. Michael Lombardo's the general manager. Lombardi is the general manager. Players sign a 2 year contract to come to that. That's the mindset we have to be in with college sports now. It's no like let's get rid of this amateur athlete, student athlete stuff. It's professional sports. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, look, our George Mason Patriots had a really good season this year. A lot of those players were not George Mason freshman recruits. A lot of them have been transfers. Now, great, it's great, but you look at them. Some of them have been on three teams in 4 years. I don't think that's good for sports. I don't think that's good for for college athletics. But let's call it semi-pro now or something. I don't know,
yeah.
Andy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different game, and I think it's definitely changed where I think we're less likely to see, that Cinderella story than we were.
Yeah.
I think basketball is becoming much more like football, where you've got the big names, you've got the big brands. They can recruit the top talent. Doesn't have to be they can play freshman and sophomore year and sort of get discovered and make that transfer to be on that winning team, to get that visibility, not only get that paycheck, but also have a chance to be seen in the national spotlight and get drafted, more highly. So like I get the benefits of it, but for the spectator, for the fan, for those that want to watch and see like an amazing story and fun basketball, it's not the same. Like it's like an NFL with no salary cap. It's baseball, right? It's the big names, the rich teams can recruit the top talent. They'll keep bringing people in for these super teams to make these runs. I get all the benefits. It's financially good for the schools. It's potentially, a better deal for the players. But for the fans, I think we lose. I think it takes away from it, and it gives all these other programs. It makes it much harder for them to compete at a really competitive level, at a high level, because they're going to lose their top talent. Like you can be great at a small school, get discovered, and you can stay there, but you might be a first round elimination, and that's going to lower that kid's draft chances. Or they can go to Duke, be on that big name team, get all that coverage and visibility, and elevate their options potentially for the draft and their big payday. Like I get all the business case for it, but for fans and for small schools, I think it really hurts.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Okay, so Andy, I will note that in our poll that we're in, you are number one,
Yes.
and you have Auburn as your champion. I am number three, and I have Florida as my champion. And then there's somebody in between who's got Duke as their champion. If
Yeah.
Florida wins, Andy, I think I could win this thing out. So, I
If
mean,
Florida wins, if Florida wins, it's true. It's true.
so let's see what Auburn does. That'll be a good Final Four matchup for us to watch. Andy, on the hockey front, we've pledged to talk a little hockey at some
Yeah.
point. Alex Ovechkin, Ovi the Great, or the Great Eight, I guess is as they call him sometimes, is only 5 goals away now uh, from the great one's record,
Yeah.
the one's unthinkable record. But they're in a 3-game losing streak, heading into close to playoff time for them. So, while it's great to celebrate uh, Ovechkin, he's also kind of muting the celebrations down a little bit. So, a lot ahead here. Are you still following this or not?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the cap scores. I mean, it was yesterday. Look, 13 points in a hockey game is insane,
Yeah,
right? I mean, they lost. They scored 5 goals. Like you score 5 goals in hockey, you win that game.
you should win that game.
And
Yeah.
you don't allow 8 goals, and so it's one of those things for Ovechkin. It's kind of been the cap story, right? I mean, like you mentioned, they've had a winning season. For the most part, it's Barry Sanders on the Detroit Lions, right? It's a great talent whose team is not built to win, and so it takes something away from those records when you're the whole show. It's still an amazing accomplishment. He's still doing great. He's going to probably get the record, probably, but at the same time, like your team's not getting it done, and the Caps are struggling at the wrong time. But how the hell did you get 13 points in the game?
That's big. That's a big question. Now, the Caps are the number one seed in their conference, so they are having a good year.
Yeah,
It's hitting a little rut of a season, and they've got 10 more or 9 more games left. 5 goals. Ooh, it's going to be a tight one to try to get it during the regular season here for Ovechkin. We'll skip the baseball talk for now, Andy. Andy, this is the thing about baseball. 4 games in, I'm already anxious about the Orioles' wins and losses. But there's 162 of these things. I've got to find a way to peter that one out a little bit. So,
but
uh,
just for the uninformed, I mean, because like I just kind of barely noticed this. So I mean, we're in spring. Baseball's underway. I mean, MLB season is upon us, right?
oh yeah, I mean it's the first full weekend. I mean, we've got the teams that are doing, the Dodgers look like they're going to be on pace for over 100 wins. Actually, they could be challenging the all-time record. That team is so good. And they just keep spending money. And I mean, this is what we want our owners to do, spend money. I think it's something that's interesting to talk about is the Dodgers have a window right now to win.
Yeah,
And they're spending their money like they want to win all the time. They're not looking for 3 to 4 years down the line when, they know they have that window now and they're using it. This is what a little bit I'm frustrated with about the Orioles is they have young talent who's won the last 3 years, like, and they didn't spend any money. I mean, they have holes in their pitching staff, and it's shown this first weekend already. Holes in their pitching staff that they didn't address. And it could have cost a little bit more money. If it would have cost a little bit more money, they should have done it, or a couple more draft picks, or a couple young talent. You should have done it. The Dodgers are doing that, and people are like, well, they're bad for baseball. Actually, they're good for what all we want in our sports owners is to spend the money that you're making billions of dollars on. The Boston Celtics just sold for over $6 billion. $6 billion. That
yeah,
owner did not pay $6 billion for this. So like spend your money. You're making a lot of money in from all these revenue sharing agreements and such. But oh well. So we'll talk about that, Andy. We'll talk more about baseball. We'll see how my Orioles do this year over the course of the year. Okay, Andy, let's get into One more topic for us this weekend. What did you we kind of briefly I talked to like I had a pretty decent weekend. What was your weekend like?
My weekend was good. I think I was it was a fun weekend. It was a full weekend. You know, I had some personal activities. I was back out, Dave, on the protest line this weekend. Was grateful for that opportunity. Had a good run yesterday. That was good. It was all around a good weekend. This last full weekend of March, I enjoyed it. Anything on your end?
Yeah, so what was the protest line like?
Dave, it was actually I'll tell you this. So I've I've never been a big like personal fan of protesting. I'm all for people protesting. It's just never been anything I wanted to get involved with. There's never anything that got I was like I need to go out there and do like never. And I would never have bet on me being out there. And going out there as an unpaid protester, Dave, just to be clear about that, as,
This
as
is in reference to the idea that Democrats are paying people to go protest at Tesla places. Just want to put reference out there. So
yeah,
nice dig, Andy. Nice
yeah.
dig.
I mean, Joe Rogan espousing absolute unsubstantiated bullshit about paid protesters. One, I'm not a Democrat, right? And two, I can tell you there weren't people being paid out there, and I'll come right back to that. But the size of the protest, I was out again in Tyson's Corner, Virginia, and I was out there 2 weeks ago, and I would say there's around 100 people demonstrating that day. I was out there this last Saturday. Dave, there were I think estimates of 215 people, like definitely 200 people. I mean, I did a quick, scan count. Definitely 200 people. Both sides of the road were packed. There was a second sort of portion that was further down, approaching the main street away from the dealership. It was packed and enthusiastic and positive, and there was no, violence. There was nothing of the kind. And there were more people again that I could see. There were some familiar faces that I saw previously. There's some people that definitely were tried and true Democrats and regular protesters for sure. And there were more people that definitely had never been out before. And as I stood there, I was carrying my big, beautiful American flag, celebrating my First Amendment right to gather and protest. And a young lady and her mom came up, and you could tell that she was very proud of the sign that she'd made. And her and her mom were kind of looking around like what do we do? Is like, can we stand here? And like just seeing they were out there because they wanted to be out there doing something, not because anybody was paying them or telling them they had to be there. And you see a lot of that out there. People are frustrated and want to express themselves and be part of saying no to the bullshit that we're seeing all around us. And I think it's awesome to see these protests growing in size. Now, there was a, a very obnoxious young lady reporter and her videographer that were with her. They were trying to sort of, put people in a position to say something, negative that they could compromise them in some way. It was really miserable. Sort of trying to make it a crocodile tears kind of thing for the Tesla dealership that, these protesters were hurting the Tesla dealer owner. And I had a whole series of thoughts in my mind on what to say, but I didn't want to get into it. But so you're seeing that, and you're also seeing counter protests just around in my same area. There are several other protests in Maryland and in Virginia, and you're seeing counter protesters coming out to these things, which says that people are seeing these movements and they're concerned, right? There's concern that they're being effective and they're having impact. And so you've got people coming out to counter them. You've got people coming out to try and discredit them. And you know what? America needs to continue to step on the gas and reject these activities. So I was very proud to be there. Again, not a protester, not a Democrat. I was proud to be out there amongst other Americans celebrating our constitutional right and rejecting the nonsense we're seeing out of Washington, D.C.
So what is it like to be on a protest? Like, what do? You just go out there and I mean, because this is not a march, so you're not marching somewhere and you're chanting. That we've seen those type of protests through city streets, downtown areas. But what happens when you're showing up? I mean, does somebody organize say, hey, we're going to be here at certain time. We're going to do this. I mean, what is that
So
like?
there are signups, so whatever protest, there's big rallies scheduled for this coming weekend all around the country. There's Tesla protests all around the country. There's others, veterans events, and so there are marches and then there are protests, and the protests, like in this case, it's just Americans standing at a fixed place and sort of together rallying on an issue, on a cause. So you see a lot of these protesting, a lot of signs about Doge, about Elon Musk, about Donald Trump, about you know firing our veteran workforce, firing our government employees. So a lot of just sort of visible demonstration of people standing together and saying no. You know what I mean? So, like in my case, I found a nice spot of earth, stood my ground. And for me, some people bring signs, some people bring extra signs for others that don't have one, and they're sort of just expressing themselves in their disagreement with the things happening around them. For me, I just want to bring the flag. So I want to remind people that this is a patriotic event, right? These aren't people that hate America. These are people that love America and are out there to protect and save America from the constitutional violations that are occurring on a daily basis. And so you had other people out there with flags, some holding them upside down as a symbol of distress, others just carrying them around. People are handing out small flags for others to sort of wave around. And it's just, I think, people saying in solidarity to say enough of the bullshit. We do not accept the deconstruction of our government and the tyranny of these outsized, massive ego billionaires who are taking over our government and destroying our government at the expense of everybody around them. And so to hear, for example, this reporter come out with her crocodile tears for the Tesla dealership, which is doing fine still. What about all the Americans that have been thrown out of their jobs around the country? Save your crocodile tears and bullshit for somebody else. We have Americans, we have veterans who serve this nation in combat zones that are out of jobs because of the reckless way that's being conducted by Elon Musk and his deputy Donald Trump. And so Americans are standing there, Dave, in solidarity, just standing there to visibly demonstrate and say, we reject what you're doing. We do not support what you're doing.
I love how you work in those little quips, Andy. Like this is quite good. Elon Musk and his deputy. That's quite good. Yeah, look, I mean, this is how we get our people get your voice to be heard, and it's natural for Joe Rogan and some of these guys to come out and start spewing some of this stuff. I mean, it's the same thing that's happening with the measles outbreak, and you get all these people coming in and now you have, because we keep peddling in these lies and misinformation and disinformation, you don't really know what to believe, but you start seeding that with paid protesters and so on, and you start getting into, that start trying to incite things. But it comes back to millionaires, billionaires trying to pit the those less fortunate against one another. They're the ones who benefit from it all, and it's fascinating to see. So,
Yeah,
well, kudos to you, Andy.
yeah, well, I appreciate it. I was out there again with my mother, with my sister, with one of my best friends. I mentioned Strawley on a podcast last week. We were out there together, and we were out there with other, literally hundreds of other Americans to reject what we're seeing. And I think it's great. I really think it's great, Dave, for people to get involved. Democracy requires active citizenship in one way, form, or another. And if you don't like what you're seeing around you, whether it's getting out to a protest, blasting things on social media, being on a podcast, writing about it, whatever it is, like finding a way to get engaged and to let others know that you reject what you're seeing around you. It's important because silence, as you say in the artillery, Dave, silence is consent. If you don't raise your voice, you're tacitly approving what's happening around us. For some people, they do approve, and that's their choice to do that, and that's fine if they hate this country and want to see democracy die. But for others that don't like what we're seeing, that don't want to hear a 78-year-old man talking about running for a third term unconstitutionally, then you've got to articulate your voice because one, it tells them we're not going to accept this bullshit. And it encourages others to get involved and stay engaged and have hope for tomorrow at a time when hope is in short supply.
Yeah, no, it's fair point. Fair point, Andy. So as we wrap up March and we head into April, we have tariffs to look forward to on April 2nd. So let's see, Andy, is your money on that tariffs are going to go into effect on the second, or you think these going to back away?
In some way, shape, or form, if not in their entirety, yeah, we'll see them go into effect. Because, Dave, it's Liberation Day, and we've made
Yeah.
such a big day out of this bullshit. And we're going to see, as we celebrate Liberation Day, we're going to see the stock market tank, which is fully expected. There's a study that just came out talking about how bad tariffs are. We're going to see them put in place because Donald Trump doesn't like to back down, and to hell with the American people and the Republic. And so we're going to see them at least to some level put in place. Now they might be backed off the next day because we're back and forth every single day with this president, his borderline personality and what we're seeing, but we'll see something. So we should brace ourselves for a midweek stock market fail.
It's going to crash this morning. The Asian market's already crashing. Yeah, Andy. So great things to look forward to. Your 401ks are at risk, everyone. But hey, things are better, right? Egg prices were below $5 for the first time in a couple weeks here, Andy. So clearly the president is doing the right thing. It's below $5.
Yeah, there's that.
It was I think at $1.30 in January. So okay. All right, Andy, with that, let's wrap up the pod for on Monday, and I will catch up with you on Liberation Day, Andy.